is grateful for your attendance as we provide opportunities for our community to stay connected and as we prepare you and continuously to land on our feet while we move through and get to the other side of this double global pandemic of racial indignity and health disparities. What is From Pause to Clause? Founded in 2008 via a conversation with Kareem Taylor, class of 2010, during his sophomore year, he shared that students wanted increased interaction with the alumni community. Quoting from his letter to the class of 2017, he shared, "We should know who graduated from CAU. We should know the great things alumni are doing. We should connect with these alumni to help us with internships and even jobs." That summer, I wrote down all of my ideas, created a flyer, a blurb, and about the event and how it would happen. I set up a meeting with Ms. Joshua in the Office of Alumni Relations, and immediately she approved the event and we started planning that day. The event name came from a framed picture on her wall, From Pause to Clause, with different ages of Panthers. My fellow alums and visitors, this is the essence of the signature event of your Office of Alumni Relations. We embrace our alumni in waiting, commonly known as students, and circle them until they become a member of our only permanent constituency of our alma mater. As cubs, they pounce, they bounce through the discovery academically, socially, and spiritually, finding their way as their talents grow into claws while becoming fully entrenched felines of service locally, nationally, and globally, and remembering to provide financial support to this institution that developed each of them. The program with each underlining event has morphed into the CAU Experience Edition, when students first enter our hallowed halls, fall, homecoming, and spring editions, and a unique edition called The Return, which assists the graduating class as they prepare for commencement and life after graduation. Our newest edition, Visionary 2020, was created in honor of the Perfect Vision class of 2020. As an alumni community, we did not have the opportunity to interact with our newest alumni this past spring. Many thanks to my colleague, Chastity B. Evans, who is a member of the class of 2010, who serves as the program manager in the Office of Alumni Relations. And she will also be your host for these series and for creating this space for our interaction. Chastity, please move forward into this conversation.
Thank you so much, alumna Galen E. Gateway Joshua, for the beautiful introduction and greetings. Welcome, everyone. Thank you all for joining your Office of Alumni Relations, going for the extraordinary, not settling for the ordinary, acting on the importance, not reacting to the urgent webinar. I would also like to provide a special thank you to alumna Dr. Michelle Rhodes, the program specialist for the Office of Online Learning and Continuing Education, for being the technical guru for this webinar. So to her, thank you. We're going to move along into the purpose of this webinar. We have some go-getters on the panel today to inform you on how to go for the extraordinary and not to settle for the ordinary. The purpose of this webinar is to understand that we all have the potential to make a difference, to be extraordinary. And yet, in times like these of high pressure and stress, in this highly interactive session, we'll talk about the many roles we find ourselves juggling and how difficult it can be to determine where to spend our time most. We'll explore how we can rise to our potential and feel like we're contributing in a meaningful way to the areas of our lives that matters most. Here's a little housekeeping for everyone that's on the webinar today. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the Q&A box in your Zoom control panel. I will bring them up during our Q&A section to discuss. As we stated, please type them into the Q&A section in your Zoom control panel. I will bring them up during our Q&A section to discuss. Now, without further ado, introducing our first panelist, Alumna Brittany James. One second. Alumna Brittany James, AKA Boss Lady, is an influencer, songwriting, and brand strategist. She is the Chief Executive Officer of Lady CEO Enterprises, a multimedia and brand management firm dedicated to managing and producing qualitative content and industry professionals. Alumna James is a graduate of Clark Atlanta University, class of 2013, where she obtained her BA in music, voice performance, and commercial composition, and political science. Currently, Alumna James is pursuing her master's degree in music audio engineering from Berklee College of Music in Boston, Massachusetts. Thank you so much, Alumna James, for taking the time to serve on this panel and serve your alma mater. Alumna James, your first question: what defines being extraordinary in your career field?
Well, thank you, Alumna Evans, for asking that question, and thank you for having me on today. So the one thing that makes what defines my extraordinary career is, I have a few key points, but it's knowing and understanding your value, value the people who you work with, value yourself, especially for somebody like me who is leading my own company, but I also assist in managing and branding other companies. I know my value. I know what I should charge. I know what I'm looking for in terms of clients coming to me and what I'm willing to offer out. So if you know your value and you know your worth, it will be no problem for anybody else to know what you value and will respect actually what you put out because you know your value and your worth. Another point is being a servant leader. Actually Clark Atlanta University really honed this in for me. It's easy to serve. It's easy to lead, but it takes a special leader that can serve. So getting out there and serving with your community, serving with the people that you work with, and making sure that whatever you do, that you don't just have the quote unquote manager or boss mentality, but you encompass being a servant along with the leading part. Some more key points that I have is definitely in my career, making sure I time manage everything that I do. I juggle a lot, I balance a lot. And for those of you that are juggling and balancing a lot, it takes extra grace in order to balance everything. So you have to manage your time. I'm not saying go out, get a planner tomorrow, but know what works for you, know what works for your career, know what works for your business, and be able to manage that time wisely. Professor Glenn Halsey, who was my core director at Clark Atlanta University, told us you only get 24 hours in a day. So whatever you do, make sure that you line that up and you spend that time wisely and you don't waste it. Also, having a work-life balance is definitely something that defines my career of being extraordinary. And I think it will help many alumni on here. You can't work all day and not find that balance with, just getting rest, recharging. Because if you're always on the go, and you never have time to stop and rest and clear your mind, you have all this stuff that's in your mind and you can't execute efficiently the way that you need to. So having a work-life balance and then being able to recharge after that. So that's all the things that define having an extraordinary being extraordinary in my career.
Thank you for that. I mean, we definitely have to understand our worth and our value. Otherwise, we'll get nowhere.
Right.
So thank you for
Right.
that. Your next question. What type of advice can you offer to our young alumni to truly rise to their fullest potential?
Again, thank you for that question. Definitely, one, know your purpose, and two, know your value. Ask yourself, what am I put on this earth to accomplish, and whose life am I supposed to impact? I know, especially coming out of college for myself, it was easy to thrust myself into a job or into a career because of the dollar amount that was on the offer letter. But ask yourself, or think you will never be able to rise to that fullest potential being stuck in an environment that basically you're not meant to be in, that God didn't place you in because you saw that dollar amount or you needed that job right then and there. So think, is this going to help me rise to my fullest potential? And think about how you want to live the rest of your life. And you don't want to live it with a shoulda, coulda, woulda, trying to accomplish a whole bunch of nothing. So you don't want to do that. So that is not rising to your potential. So make sure you write, you strategize, you plan out all of your goals, set dates to complete them, and then follow through with those goals. Do not major in the minor things because that will only hinder your rise of your potential.
I love that. Do not. Yes. Look, sometimes we have to say no. So,
right.
Yes. Thank you
Right.
so much, Alumna James, for the wonderful insight and information. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any questions for Alumna James, please type them into the Q&A box in your Zoom control panel now. We will be sure to get to them during our Q&A section. Thank you once again, Alumna James. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Now, introducing our next panelist for this afternoon is alumnus Dr. Chico J. Rory. One second, let me get myself together. Born and raised in North Carolina, alumnus Rory attended Clark Atlanta University, where he attained a Bachelor of Science degree in biology in 1998. Rory later attended the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill's Curriculum and Toxicology PhD program, where he graduated in 2004 with a cancer genetics research focus. Alumnus Rory completed a postdoctoral fellowship at New York University, New York, and a postdoctoral fellowship as a SPIRE, S-P-I-R-E, fellow at UNC Chapel Hill. In 2008, alumnus Rory joined the biology department at North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University in Greensboro, North Carolina, as the professor of genetics, where he was awarded the Junior Faculty Teaching Excellence Award in 2015 and was tenured in 2016. At NCAT, alumnus Rory has a breast cancer research lab where he trains and mentors undergraduate, master's, and PhD students. Currently, alumnus Rory serves as the interim chair of the Department of Biology at NCANT. He resides in Greensboro, North Carolina with his wife, Dr. Tiara R. Rory, and their 3 daughters. Thank you so much, alumnus Dr. Rory, for coming out today. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being a part of this panel and for serving your alma mater. Dr. Rory, we often find ourselves juggling many roles life throws at us, which can be difficult to determine where to spend our time. What are some of your tips you can provide us with to prioritize and just say no?
Well, thank you for that question. So as you can imagine, being interim chair, I'm actually serve on many committees, involved in many things on campus in my job. But one thing that I put first is family. And so I want to put that at the forefront because I basically surround my schedule around my family, because if I'm happy at home, I can be happy at work. And so, as you said before, I have a wife, she's a dentist, so she's very busy, and we have 3 daughters. And so we have a 14-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 5-year-old. So you can imagine our life is very busy. And so there are times when I have to make a decision. Do I write this grant from 5 to 8 p.m. on Monday, or do I take my daughter to gymnastics practice? Or do I take my daughter to theater practice? And I take my daughter to theater practice. I take my daughter to gymnastics practice, because I feel like that fulfills me first. So focus on family and friends, and that will help you focus on work better. Because I believe that if you focus too much on work, right, and you become stressed out at work, you take that stress home, and what's the point? You're not able to really enjoy the fruits of your labor. So as much as I can, I involve my family in my work. I bring them on campus. I bring them into my office. Everyone knows them. They walk around the hallways. So that's what I would say, is definitely keep family first. And friends, I think, is very important to have a strong social life, so that you can find ways to decompress from the stresses of work, and it will help you enjoy work better. So being the interim chair of the biology department here, we have one of the largest departments on campus at North Carolina A&T. We'll be starting this fall, actually, we're going to see the largest number of incoming freshmen we've ever had, even under the conditions of COVID-19. So managing 30 faculty, almost 800 students, you can imagine that's a challenge. And you pretty are much on call 24/7. But at the same time, I stress family first. And so I hope that I've been able to be successful at that. I believe I have been. And so when my kids have events, I'm always there. Sometimes I may have to have my laptop working in the audience, but at least I'm there, because when they get older, they can say, well, my dad was chair of the biology department, but he was at all of my events, right? I don't want it to be a situation where 20 years later, my kids are telling me Daddy wasn't there for me. And so that's one thing I definitely learned by being at Clark Atlanta, was the family atmosphere that I was able to experience while I was there in the biology department at Clark Atlanta University. So Dr. John Brown was my mentor. I did research in his laboratory. He and his wife taught biology there, and they used to call me their son. And so that is one element that I've taken with me in this current position. So definitely family first, and social life, making sure that's strong, your spiritual life, going to church, and being part of other organizations that have similar interests in mine. I'm also part of Jack and Jill in Greensboro, North Carolina. And so we do a lot of family oriented things. So as you can see, we're very family oriented, because that's what keeps us grounded. And so I'm definitely appreciative of that, learning that and getting that at Clark Atlanta while I was there, and bringing that into my work life. And actually, as chair, I look at my faculty as my family. And so if they have issues that come up at home and there's a deadline we need to meet, but they have a family issue, they let me know, hey, we can figure out a way around this deadline. And so that's my approach. And it's helped me along the way, and it's helped keep me motivated, because there's times the journey along the way can be very stressful. Obtaining that PhD can be very stressful. Doing a postdoctoral, doing that research, and the ups and downs of cancer research can be stressful at times. But then going home and recognizing I actually have something more important at home. I mean, work is good, it's great, but family first.
Thank you so much for that answer. I mean, you seem to look pretty happy to me, so I think it's working. So in order, as a follow-up, in order to truly enjoy the fruits of our labor, when is the best time to just say no?
I would say if you're actually compromise your integrity. So because of the stressors, the deadlines, and this, the ups and downs, in education, you're assessing folks all the time. You're assessing how this course went, or how this student is doing, how your faculty are doing. You still want to make sure you don't compromise your integrity, because otherwise that's not fair to the students. And so I put myself in their shoes. So as a student, I would want to make sure I'm getting the best education I can get. And so if you can learn that as we are, 18 to 20 to 22 years old, you can take that with you the rest of your life. And so that is definitely a creed that I use in my career. Not compromising my integrity. If something doesn't work in doing research, a lot of times the research doesn't pan out, right? And so it's actually easy, to maybe fudge this little bit of data over here or that, but no, it never pans out, never works out. And so in my opinion, you have to be honest with what you're putting out to the world. This is very important. Some of the research that you do, people's lives depend on it, right? And so, there's examples, of course, in the news with folks promoting things that just are not scientifically sound. Mm-hmm. And so you're putting people's lives at risk. And so if you have scientists compromising their integrity, someone can die from that. And that's the way I look at it. So I do cancer research. If there's a drug or something that we know is deadly or has these complications, you should say that up front and not promote it as if that does not happen. So that's what I would say. Don't compromise your integrity. Remember who you are, and don't find yourself in a situation where you regret it later. The short-term benefit does not always, outlive or outweigh, the final result. And so that short-term, downfall or that something didn't work out, try something different. And so that's what I would say is don't compromise your integrity.
I mean, that's definitely some gems that we can all take as, young alums, as students, and as, alumni that are going well within our career. So thank you for that. We really appreciate the essential tips and materials. So if you all have any questions for Alumnus Roy, please type them into the Q&A box in your Zoom control panel now. We'll be sure to get to them during our Q&A session. So introducing our next panelist for today is Alumna Bernicia Hollis. Alumna Hollis received her bachelor's degree from Clark Atlanta University in Mass Communications in 2010. One of her favorite Bible verses comes from Colossians chapter 4, verses 5 through 6. States, walk in wisdom towards outsiders, making the best use of the time. Let your speech always be gracious, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how you ought to answer each person. Other than speaking engagements, marketing her books, and completing her finance license, Alumna Hollis enjoys switching up her hairstyles, reading, strategizing new ideas, teaching online courses, and listening to music. Her interests are fashion, finance, and engaging people. Alumna Hollis' endurance validates that nothing is intolerable, and if you push and educate yourself, you will be rewarded. Thank you so much for being a part of the panel and serving your alma mater, Alumna Hollis. How are you today?
Hello, guys. Thank you for having me. I'm doing pretty good, guys. Let's have some good energy. Let's get up, let's start the day, and let's just thank the Lord, for the day that we are put in. There's a lot of things going on in our world today, so we definitely have to, stay thankful, stay grateful, and stay very grounded. Excuse my voice, it kind of started going out this morning, but we're good as long as you guys can hear me. Understand everything that I'm saying. Everything will be great. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you as well. So your first question for today is, what does the term going for the extraordinary and not settling for the ordinary theme means to you?
Well, for me, extraordinary, you have to go above and beyond. We're faced with a lot of the same challenges, a lot of the same, struggles, on a day-to-day theme, but your response has to be different. I wake up and I know, okay, if I'm faced with a struggle or faced with something that I've never seen before, okay, my response have to be different. I have to think about, what I value, the goal that I set for that, that day or that particular thing. What it is that I want to do. What will the result be? In my line of industry, in the finance industry, I need to see results. I help families and individuals on a day-to-day basis. And for us, it's more, for me and my business, it's more so long-term than a lot of things that happen now. It can be now and it can be long-term, but it's mostly to set us apart long-term, because in our community, we need that. And, we're not taught. And I'm having to, teach a lot of different finance facts that has to deal with us, in our Black community, about our spending powers, versus our saving powers. So I have to always just make sure that my response is going to be different. It's going to be aligned with my particular client and what's going on, but also making sure that they honestly just unlearn a lot of the things that we've learned over the years because of the systems that we've been placed in and because of the knowledge and the education that wasn't afforded to us. So I have to have results. And I have 3 speaking points I want to come from with being extraordinary and not settling for, a struggle or something that pretty much comes up with you and your business and day to day, or if you, are an employee and you go to work, just not settling. And that first thing is going to be seek no one's approval but your own. Don't make a decision based on your current emotional state, and know your options. A lot of times, we may be faced, like I said, with some challenges that we've never seen before. So you need to really sit back, stop, and you need to think. Do not react on your emotions, because a lot of times our emotions can definitely get us into a bit of trouble. Know your options. It's always more than one way to respond to something, and it's always more than one way to do something and to involve yourself in something. Number 2, work doesn't start or stop with a 9 to 5. And within saying work does not start or stop with the 9 to 5, you are always working. As soon as you wake up in the morning to the time you go to bed, you have to always be working, okay? Have a skill outside of your, your career and what it is that you want to do and like to do. Just make sure you always have a backup plan. Life has definitely told me firsthand that I need to always have a skill, have a backup plan. Be a hustler. Go get it. That doesn't mean have 1,000,001 jobs, to where you can't, think properly or, continue your day the way that you want to. But whatever it is you want in life, go get it. Hustle to get it. Do what you need to do. Go get it. And also update your resume. And update your resume, for me, you can physically go and update your resume, because sometimes, we forget to do things like that as we're just going through different positions or, starting different businesses. But it also means reflect on your accomplishments. Reflect on the things that you have done, just so you won't forget. And so you will remember your value, that you're valuable, and so that you will remember your worth. Because a lot of times you're so hard on yourself. We can be very hard on ourselves. You know what I mean? And we shouldn't do that. We got to remember, what we did, where we came from, and that we too, that you're great. You know what I mean? That you was definitely purposely made. You're great, and you're going to be even greater with what you decide to do. The next thing would be love who you are and love where you are. Don't be embarrassed about if something's going on in your life right now. That honestly, it just hasn't passed yet. You can't be focused on and worried about what other people are going to say. Not everybody always understands, your situation or the decisions that you make. So regardless of what that is, do not be embarrassed by it. Be happy for your colleagues. A lot of times, with us, we are social media babies, and we get on social media and we see, what's happened to the person that you knew was sitting right next to you in class, but it may not be happening, as fast for you. They're in their career, they're doing what they want to do. They might have the family, the house, the husband, or the wife and the kids, and you may not. And guess what? That's okay. Be happy for them, but don't wish what they have on you, because you do not know what it took for them to get there. And then seek help. A lot of times, a closed mouth does not get fed. I used to hate when people told me that. Now, I say that all the time. A closed mouth does not get fed. It's okay to get help from someone. It doesn't matter who it is. If they can help you, ask the question. The worst they can tell you is no. Don't let yourself go, okay? I believe the quote is, if you stay ready, you never have to get ready. Stay ready. Don't let yourself go. Just because things may not be going the way you want, get your hair done, get your hair cut, keep your nails done, go get a pedicure, make yourself look good. You do not have to look like what you're going through. stay in the gym, eat right, make sure your lifestyle is good, because when that time and opportunity comes, you want to be able to accept everything that comes with it, and you want to look and feel good with it. And last, keep God first. He is amazing. He knows us. He knows our stories. He started them. He knew who we were before, we were even formed in our mother's womb. You have to keep him at the forefront of every single thing it is that you're doing, because some days it could be lonely. Some days you could feel lost, but if you just keep him and stay grounded, in him and his word, and you pray and keep that support around you, everything will be fantastic. So that's how I deal with being extraordinary.
I'm definitely looking forward to this book whenever it comes out. Hint, hint.
Those were actually tips from the first one.
I know. So, as you reflect on your life path, what have you practiced, and how can they help us reach our fullest potential within this industry? Well, within your industry.
Okay. So, like, I'm in the financial industry, and I love this quote, and I say it every single day. Once I discovered it and found it, I thought that it was just the bread and butter of everything that I stand for now and what it is that I do. It's by W.E.B. Du Bois, and it says, to be a poor man is hard, but to be a poor race in the land of dollars is the very bottom of hardships. And unfortunately, we are a race of, a poor race in a land of dollars. And I say that because it's not that we haven't accomplished so much. We have doctors, we have lawyers, we have people with PhDs, we have people with degrees. This is probably a day and time to where we have, with our race in the community, we got Black people that we're making money. You know what I mean? Bukus of money. We have that. But there's still a huge gap in how much money we spend and how much money we save. When it comes to spending, we have 99% of the power. When it comes to saving, we have 1%. Why is it 1%? Because we do not know what to do with our money. A lot of times our money does not have direction. It does not have the right direction. Why? Because we have not been taught some of the simple things when it comes to money, in our school system or even in our home, and it's not that our parents were educated. It's a lot of, we have a way of thinking, our own way of thinking. And it's a lot of things that until we grow up, and get out in the world and see things ourselves, to bring it back to our families, bring it back, to our communities. It's a lot of things that honestly we just do not know, and that's not your fault. You have, like the first panelist said, everybody has the same 24 hours in a day. That's not to, to be mean or to be rude, but we have to go out and we have to seek, extra education and extra help on a lot of things that we want to be better in our community. So I take that quote each and every day and I give it my best. I've practiced the system. Every single day I have a system. I believe you should have a system from the time you wake up to the time you lay your head down. Waking up, what's the first thing you do? Brush your teeth, wash your face, spend time with the Lord, or maybe you start off with music. Whatever that routine is, it's an all-day routine. That's in your personal life and that's in your business, because I believe that those two things, they go together. They're not separate. So in your routine, there's survival, there's support, and then it's your routine. That is your system for the day. So that's something that I practice, just to keep me going and keep me flowing. And anything that I do that's new, I definitely make sure I develop a system around it within my system that I already have and create every single day.
Well, that is just an amazing reflection, and we truly appreciate you for sharing that today, Alumni Hollis. I'm sure that we can all learn, from you some best practices and some awareness. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
If you have any questions for Alumni Hollis, please type them into the Q&A box in your Zoom control panel now. We'll be sure to get to them during the Q&A process. All right, guys, we're moving forward. Last but never least, introducing our final panelist for this afternoon, alumnus Anthony White. Alumnus Anthony White, Clark Atlanta University, class of 1999, and president of the CAU-AA Mass Media Arts Alumni Society. We can always count on seeing alumnus White engaging with the students, affording internships, and hosting MMA career networking events in studios A and B. Alumnus White is a 25-year broadcast television veteran. Over the past decades, he has served as on-air talent, field producer, and network camera operator for multiple media conglomerates. Alumnus White's creativeness, innovation, professionalism, and dedication have earned him an astonishing 13 Emmys throughout his career. For the past 17 years, Alumnus White has been an essential member of the Emmy Award-winning Inside the NBA and Inside MLB teams on TNT. His credits also include NFL on Fox and CBS, the NFL Network, and ESPN College Football Primetime. Other production credits include NCAA Basketball on CBS and TNT, and the 24-hour network NBA TV, NBA Digital. Yet, Alumnus White's true love is, guess what? Cooking. His culinary talent started in the kitchen when he was just 10 years old. And I quote, "My mother inspired me. I always wanted to be a chef even before I entered the world of television. I love seeing people enjoy the food I prepare and how it puts smiles on their faces." Alumnus White, a true seafood lover, is the owner of Wendell's Seafood. Please be on the lookout for that food truck that's going to be driving throughout your neighborhood. Alumnus White, your first question for today, and thank you so much for joining us today and for, of course, always serving your alma mater.
Thank you.
No problem. We all juggle many roles life throws at us, which can be difficult to determine where to spend our time. What is your framework of getting over the high pressure and stress in your work industry? Because we know there's a lot of stress in that industry.
Positive energy. Positive energy. That's how I start myself. That's how I start my day out every day, pretty much. Because to me, life is a mindset. It's a mindset. And however you start your wherever your mindset is at that point in time is how you are able to function with your daily routine. Now, as far as my industry is concerned, yes, it is tough. Most of the times, being in the industry that I'm in, being a camera guy, I'm usually the only Black guy on the crew. So I always tell people what's so funny. I just did the Super Bowl. Shout out to me because that was my camera shot at the end with the help that guy trying to score that touchdown. So hooray for me. But and a lot of people don't know that. But people don't realize how dominated my industry is, with the white folks. And I'm usually the only Black guy. So we had 133 cameras for the Super Bowl. Can you guess how many Black guys were out there running camera? Two. So that lets you know how dominated my field is. And I have to be that much better when I go out there and do my thing. A lot of times, a lot of it depends on, who your director is, how much he likes you. A lot of times it's not even about your skill level, because there's some guys out here that work with me that they're terrible. They're terrible. I know I'm way better than them, but they'll get the opportunities before I do. And it's sad that it works like that, but that's across the board for every industry. I mean, from doctors, lawyers, any type of promotion. I mean, I worked in the government for 8 years, and it was funny because I was having this conversation the other day with someone. I realized back then, all the bosses were white, all the secretaries were Black, and all the stay-in schoolers were Black. So you would never see the advancement of, even in our office at that point in time. And I really didn't understand it because I was so young back then. But it's real. And the more and more I've grown into the world of television, I see it more and more and more and more. And, juggling my life, it is a tough balance for me, because for the most part, I'm on the road maybe about 8 months out the year. You know, I travel 18 weeks for NFL, then I'll travel for basketball, and I'll travel, you know, for soccer or wherever they send me. And trust me, I feel very, very honored to be in that position, because a lot of times it's not, you know, you don't see a lot of guys like me. We laugh because most of the black camera guys are here in Atlanta. But when I go places like Kansas City, San Francisco, Miami, it's usually just me on the crew. And the funny part about that is they'll think that I'm one of the utilities, because usually the utilities are the black guys running around doing all the gopher work, you know, and a lot of times I don't get that respect if your guys don't know me as a camera guy, but I know I'm good at what I do. You know, I know I'm good at what I do. So, you know, it's not only a point of juggling your, you know, the life and my timing, but it's also juggling that mentally. You know, because sometimes I'm on headsets and, you know, and all the, you know, the craziness going on in the world, you know, and guys will say stuff over the headset and forget that I'm there. Yeah, forget that I'm there. Then I'll have to address that, and then everything gets quiet. You know, you have directors at times that have come in, and maybe if I've been the only black guy, they'll try to like pressure me and pressure me and pressure me. And I know that it's personal and it's not about my skill level.
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of times it's, you know, so it's not about my time management. It's also a mental, you know, mentally juggling my time when I'm in those environments. And I know because they are, you know, high stressful environments. I mean, a lot of times people don't realize, like I'm very, very calm and cool, because like during the whole course of a football game, I'm chewing gum. That's how I relax my nerves. That's how I relax my nerves. And people are laughing because they'll see me blowing bubbles, but that's how I get through the pace of knowing what I have to do and where I need to be. And, you know, it's a very, very, it can be very, very high stress, because when those cameras go on and we go live, you can't make no mistakes. You know, you can't make many mistakes because, you know, I mean, it's just like, not comparing it to being a doctor, but, you know, Alumnus Roy, he knows he can't make any mistakes, you know, when he's writing a prescription or he's seeing a patient. You know, in my situation is the same way, because you at home as the viewer, you won't know that we made mistakes, but I know I've made that mistake. So my mistakes are very, very limited. So, you know, a few things that I would like to touch on as far as like, when you talk about time management, for me, there really is no time management because a lot of times it's just more, you know, if I get a call, I got to up and go. I've had to structure myself more now because I have other businesses to fall back on, because, you know, I just purchased a food truck in December because of my love of cooking. And thank God that I did do that, because right now, technicians like me, we're all out of work. You know, we have nowhere to go. We have nowhere to go. So you think about, if there's 300,000 technicians, camera guys, audio guys, utilities, even directors, like no one has any work right now, because it's not like you can say, oh, okay, well, this network, you know, not hiring, I could go over here to ESPN or I could go to CBS. No one has any work right now. No one. So, you know, one thing I've always done, Ms. Galen can always attest to this, I've always hustled, you know, to make sure, like, television is what I do. It's not my life. You know, I'm always about making money, being an entrepreneur, and having, you know, many streams of income. And those are some of the things that I pass on to my students, you know, at Clark Atlanta, because, you know, I want them to understand, because a lot of my students that I've mentored, they're hurting right now because they have no direction, because they were thinking, oh, I'm going to graduate, I'm going to get this job in this TV station, I'm going to create this movie. And it's like, no, that's not happening right now. You know, so you always, and I'll tell any student, no matter what it is, and Alumnus Hollis bounced on this, you got to have some type of backup plan. You do. You have to have a backup plan. I mean, because right now, the days of a 9-to-5 job, those days are over. Mm-hmm. Over. You know, 30 years, get that watch, you know, you retire. I mean, some people have already passed that threshold, but our generation, the generation behind us, it's not like that anymore. You know, you have to have something solid that you can fall back on, or other sources or flows of income, you know, in order for you to continue to survive in this world, because it's different. It's different.
It's very true. Thank you for that. I guess to touch base, going right into your second question, because you actually hit it right on the nail. The true meaningful way, I guess, to learn how to appreciate areas of our lives that matters most. We can have to learn harmony. I guess, can you speak on how we can practice a balanced life or having a sense of balancedness? Because like you stated, I guess balance comes with time management, and in your industry and your role, as being an entrepreneur, there is no such thing. But even if you are trying to find Zen.
Well, with me, the one thing I did learn how to do, I had to learn how to start saying no, because I'm one that is always helping everyone else. And I know over the years, I've held myself back from being the best reporter that I could be, being the best business person I could be, because the crazy thing about me is I can look at other people and see their talent and try to bring it out of them. It did, like several shows that I've created, and dealing with projects that I've worked on that I've created. But what happens, I'll look at someone else and be like, oh, wow, we can do this and we can do that. And, we can get you to this level. But the thing that I had to understand was, if they don't want it, then it's not going to work for me, because it's hard trying to put something into people that don't see their talent and see what they have. So I had to stop doing that and say, okay, well, you know what, Aunt, let me see what, let me see what you have going on for yourself. Because see, to me, I always feel like, okay, I'm gonna get there because I know, what I do and how I move along. But I had to learn how to start saying no, because, I wouldn't say I've wasted time, but I've wasted my time and energy on certain people trying to grow their talent instead of growing my talent. And one thing I do want to say, what goes on now with the whole social media and all that, stuff, understand, use your enemies to your advantage. Use your enemies to your advantage, because a lot of times when people hate on you and they're upset, or they're criticizing you, they actually want to be you. And I've had 2 stints where, I pretty much can't stand a person that I work with, and he's technically my director, but for every time he's done something to me, it has moved me along to start my soup company. I got that off the ground 4 years ago. And then I found me and him back in the same space 4 years later. And then it influenced me to purchase my food truck. Okay. So my advice to everybody, you never let anyone suck your energy or set your daily attitude, because if they're miserable, let them be miserable. Because that should not define you as a person and an individual. And use some of that negative energy to achieve your dreams and your goals. Because the thing about with life, a lot of times you have to be proactive instead of reactive. Proactive instead of reactive.
Definitely dropped some gems for us today as well. The entire panels did. We cannot thank you guys enough. Each and every one of you all. You all have a different background, different industry, but we all learned something very instrumental today. So, and fundamental. So thank you. Thank you so much, Alumnus White, for breaking it down and for bringing your awareness. If you all have any questions for Alumnus White, please type them into the Q&A box in your Zoom control panel now. We will be sure to get to them during our Q&A session, which is now. Yay, aren't you happy? All right, guys, so thank you again to our alumni panelists for the insightful gems that have been released today to go forth with you. So we will go ahead and now take some questions. Just a reminder, if you do have any questions in mind, please be sure to type your questions into the question box in your control panel. Now is the time to engage with your alums and network, okay? While you have them in front of you, now's the time to network. Ask away. So it looks like we have a couple of questions here. I'm gonna go ahead and pull them up. Wow, we have a lot of questions. So Our first question is for Alumnus White. How will the current pandemic, paired with all that is changing in the world, impact the TV/movie industry?
Woo. I would say this, the money I've made over the past 20 years, I'll be lucky to make $30,000. I mean, let me keep it real and honest with you. Because, and I'll give you this example, pretty much, so you take, for an average football game, there's pretty much like maybe 10 cameras for if it's not the national game. So now you're talking about, they don't want to travel us anymore, because if I travel 18 weeks out the season for football season, so now you bring me back here to Atlanta for 8 Falcons home games. Fox maybe have about 4 of those. CBS gets about 2. NBC gets 1 or 2. So now you're technically looking at me having like 4 to 5 home games, right? Okay. So that eliminates, but look how you eliminate maybe about 10 cameras. I mean, you eliminate about 4 cameras. So now you're down to about 6 cameras, right? So now that's 4 positions gone. You don't have any fans in the stands. So they have, they're downsizing everything they can, because pretty much you don't need it all.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're seeing, because we're like how we're doing Zoom and everything like that. Now they're looking at it from a standpoint how things can work. Like, I was listening to economists, don't get it twisted. This economist was saying that pretty much the COVID-19 bailed a lot of these companies out because they've been wanting to downsize. So now this is their excuse to say that they can downsize because, the COVID-19, we can't bring you back because of the dangers and everything. So to answer your question, it's going to affect it tremendously, because it's going to be a lot of guys out of work because there's only so many positions that's left. And trust me, if you're not at the top of the list, you're not going to get picked. So I would just say this, it's going to be difficult because, they're going to take a lot of veterans over people just breaking into the business. So be creative, start some stuff on your own. I got some projects I'm rolling that's pretty much outside of working for a network. So those are the things you have to be creative, and this is the time to be creative and figure out some things on your own. So.
Thank you. The next question is for alumnus Dr. Rory. Okay. This question, and thank you, alumnus Anthony. That question came from Woods. Okay. This question comes from Deshae Cunningham. How can we change our HBCU's educational structures so that it benefits our students, so we are progressive and not outdated in education?
That's a very good question. And to be honest with you, A&T has changed the model. We have grown tremendously since I came on board in 2008. Mm-hmm. And part of that was the vision of the current chancellor, Harold Martin. And so one thing we actually began to do was use other institutions, mm-hmm. TWIs, as our competitors. What are they doing and what do we need to do? Versus just staying in a bubble of, okay, Jackson State is doing this, Morehouse is doing that, FAMU is doing this. So they sort of flipped it and began to look at, okay, research dollars. We're in North Carolina, so we have a very heavy group of research institutions, Duke University, Chapel Hill, Wake Forest. And so we began looking at them to say, okay, what are they doing and how can we now replicate that? And it, it's been some growing pains. So as you grow, sometimes your joints are sore, but it has been paying off. So we've been growing every year since I've basically come here. And even under the pandemic, starting this fall, we've seen 16% growth. And we've utilized that to leverage how we now do things at the university. So that's what I would say is really looking at other institutions besides just the HBCU to see what works and replicate that as best we can. And then also work with each other. right? So it's a group of us. You know, I do some work with folks at North Carolina Central, but then we also do work with UNC Chapel Hill. And so it's like a group of us that work together. And so that's one thing that I think HBCUs should really do, is partner in with different types of institutions, see what they're doing and replicate it, rather than reinventing the wheel. You know, replicate it, but we have our own spin on it. You still can't take that away, that regardless we're an HBCU, so that culture still exists, but it's changing a little bit, and I think we have to.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. We're going to go to 1 to 2 more questions really quickly, because we do have to end at 1 p.m. So this question is from Dana Klein to Alumnus Hollis. What are some tips for identifying a financial advisor?
Hello, and thank you so much for the question. When it comes to choosing who your financial advisor is going to be, you want to really look at that person from the time really you meet them to the time the conversation is over. You pay attention to the questions that they ask you. What do you want? What are your dreams? What are your goals? Where are you right now financially? Where do you want to be? You need short-term goals and you need long-term goals. The conversation shouldn't always go in the direction of what it is that they need and that they want. If what they want has nothing to do with what it is that you want, you know, at least some of the conversation should have something to do with what you want. And then of course we would advise you on, you know, what it is that you need, and we can bridge those two things together. But if it has no interest in you and what you want, if nothing is simplified for you, then that's not the financial advisor for you. So you want to really look at the character and the information of the person, and, you know, for them to really treat you, you know, like a human being, and to, you know, be friendly, ask questions, smile, you know, someone that's just very helpful and that cares about what it is that you need in your financial direction.
Thank you so much, Alumna Hollis. Last question for the day is for Alumna James. Please keep in mind, if we do not get to your question today, we will respond to them and they will be sent out along with the link for the post survey, okay? So we don't want to miss anyone's questions, okay? This question is from Sarissa Allen. She said, how did your major at CAU side in your career aspirations? Are you doing what you inspired to do? So, you know, from CAU to now, are you doing what you aspired to do?
Yes, so of course, you know, you all have heard in my bio, I majored in music, 2 concentrations in vocal performance and commercial composition, so songwriting, sound engineering. But I also double majored in political science. I left that out. But with doing all of those things, I was set up at Clark Atlanta. It's amazing how I was set up at Clark Atlanta. To be doing what I'm currently doing now. So I serve as the Alumni Relations Director for the 105 Voices of History National HBCU Concert Choir and Orchestra. And with that, during my time as a student in that organization, because I was in the choir, because I was in the band, because I was a music major, I was put in as a student to internship at the Kennedy Center, to sing at the Kennedy Center, to sing at the Angie Mellon Center. And all of that now has thrusted me into where I am now, working in that position, as well as being a songwriter and working with Broadcast Music Incorporated and the Recording Academy, which houses and hosts the Grammy Awards. So all of that prepared me for what I did as my major in music to get me to where I am doing now. I have five jobs. I believe in order to be a billionaire, you have to have like at least 7 streams of income. So I'm not limited to one thing. I do 5 things. And I look at myself as the parables of talents in the Bible, Matthew 25, where they were all disseminated with talents, but it was the one that took that one talent and did so many things that the rest of them that had the 8 talents did not do. So I'm taking all of my talents that I learned and the skills that I honed on at Clark Atlanta and in my major of music, and I'm doing all of those things in every aspect of my life. And I wouldn't regret it. I wouldn't change it. For anybody that's trying to do that same thing, go for it. Do not second guess yourself. Do what you're called to do.
Thank you so much, Alumna James. Thank you, everyone, for your questions. Like I stated, we will answer all questions. They will come out in the post survey. So please look out for the post survey, and please look out for the Q&A that were asked during the panel. Please,
Chastity,
yes, ma'am.
please look at Sandra Brooks' question. Look at Brooks' question and close out with that one, please.
Let me see. Go to it. Oh, okay. So we have one more question, and anyone who would like to pick it up on the panel, you can definitely pick it up, okay? This question is, how do we prepare our new alumni to look at entrepreneurship since the pandemic has created a major shift in the job market? I'm assuming one of our entrepreneurs can definitely speak to that.
I'll go ahead. So look at your skill set. Look at what you're good at. I'm an influencer. I do a lot of different things, but I look at what I'm good at and see how I can take it and make a little job out of it. At first, it started out as a side hustle, but then I look at it and say, okay, I'm getting a little money for this. Maybe if I go ahead and market and get into this for real, then I'll be able to really, generate an income behind it. So look at, it really starts at what your talents is. Something as simple as, it's something as simple as you learning like alumnus white, cooking, getting a cooking truck and having that. So look at those skills that you have and branch out on that.
Can I jump in there and say something right quick?
Go ahead.
I would say this, and I always tell people, it's something around you every day that you use, but you just have to learn how to think left. You have to learn how to think left, because what happens is something that you're using, or it's a talent that you have that nobody else has. And basically, if you can just think outside the box, you'll find your way into it. I've given examples to one of my friends. She's a psychologist. Matter of fact, she's a Clark Atlanta alum. And I told her, I said, you have a skill and some education that people need to hear besides your patient. You don't necessarily have to deal with your patients. Like, you have something that people, the average person on the street is walking, is going to work every day, have, a good career, but you have something that they need. So it's something that someone needs. You just have to learn how to think left. I know that's hard, but a lot of times people that are entrepreneurs and get rich is because they thought of something that somebody else did.
Yes, I want us to chime in too. I'm sorry, guys. I know we're on the time, but everything that Alumni White said and Alumni Brittany said is all very true, and it all combines together with knowing your skill, things that you like to do, thinking outside the box. But I want to end that too with, just knowing who you are and who you're not. It's a lot of stuff out here that we can be doing, a lot of skills that we possess and things we have. But if it's not you and you got to fake that thing all the way, it is not you, guess what? It's not going to make you money. People can see when you're not confident, or when maybe you don't know what it is that you're talking about. You know what I mean? So if it's something that, if it's just not you, it's just totally not you. You can't even fake it, because some things we do fake. Let's, be honest about it. But just don't do it. Like he said, it will be hard, but you really have got to, even with that, what I talked about earlier with your system, you got to wake up and realize what your system is, know who you are, what you like, what you don't like, see what your skills are, get a license. I talk about that in chapter 2, one to plug in my book. It's called, I Graduated Now What? 10 Strategies to Survive Life After College. I graduated in 2010 when the economy totally sucked. It was horrible. I see the same thing happening again, but under different circumstances, because the pandemic is what led to it. So it's about to start happening all over again. So
and on our 10-year, on top of that.
On top of it, is that not crazy?
Can we not get a break?
Can we not get a break? And, anybody that know any graduate that's just graduated and they feel like that, they can have my email address, they can have my phone number, and we can talk about this and get through this together. I would definitely say get them this book, definitely as a gift. And I love to have open discussions with them about it and everything. Bernicia Hollis, dear Bernicia, dear Dear branisha@gmail.com. Send me your contacts. Let me know, how I can help and be available and be of service to you. Because like you just really have to know who you are, know what you want to do, and put your skills together. And you got to think outside the box. And that's what alumni Brittany said, alumni Anthony said, and that's also what I say.
Go ahead and drop your LinkedIn real quick, and each one of you all go ahead and drop your socials so they can, if they want to reach out to you, if you're comfortable with them having that information, go ahead and share that now while we're in this discussion.
Okay, I'll share my information. Let me say one thing, and this should close it out. Find yourself a mentor.
Oh, yes.
Mentors are very, very important. But when I say find yourself a mentor, find you a mentor in your field. Find, like, all the alums sat here, we've talked about someone that mentored us through. Yeah, your aunt, they gave you good advice, the police officer down the street. But bottom line, find someone that can mentor you in your field, because those are the ones that understand what you're going through. Someone that can't be a doctor and mentor me in television. No. Find yourself a mentor. That's the main key point to being successful in your field of study.
And your social handles?
Oh, my social handle is Wendell Seafood, at Wendell Seafood, WINDELLSSEAFOOD, at Wendell Seafood, and also at J27HBCU if you want some CAU, nail you here. We're licensed by the university, so we're doing what we can to create a scholarship fund to give back to the university. So at J27HBCU and at Wendell Seafood.
Dr. Rory, go ahead and drop it real quick. You're on mute.
I'll put my information in chat, but you can email at dr.chicorory@gmail.com, or my work email is cjrory@ncat.edu. I'm also on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. You're not going to find too many people with the first name Chico, so you'll be able to find me. That's my real name, by the way.
Alumna James?
Yes, so you can email me at ladyceoenterprises@gmail.com. That's lady with a Y. I'm also on Facebook and LinkedIn as Brittany James, and then Instagram and Twitter at Lady B James.
Alumna Hollis, did you want to drop your social handles?
Yes, on Facebook, I am Branisha Hollis. That's BRANISHAHOLLIS. That's Instagram and Facebook. I also have my Instagram page, I Graduated Now What, where I'm constantly giving updates. I have a lot of new content that I'm about to release and put on there. So a lot of great things that's coming up for the rest of the year. And my email address, Dear Branisha, DEARBRANISHA@gmail.com.
And we will also include their information in the post survey as well. So, just in case if you didn't get all that information, we'll be glad to share that with you. Also, please, definitely follow your Office of Alumni Relations. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, and we're on LinkedIn at CAU Office of Alumni Relations or CAU Alumni Relations. So definitely follow us. We have a lot of great webinars that'll be coming up soon. So, for today, please stay in contact with your alumni, with our alumni. And definitely look out for the upcoming webinars that we have. As you can see, they're shared on the screen. Our upcoming webinar for June 11th is Don't Quarantine Yourself, Your Career, Log In and Level Up. Got some really good panelists for that webinar coming up. Thursday, June 18th is Schedule the Big Rocks, Don't Sort, Get Gravel. And for our last one for the end of June is Prioritizing Self-Care While Advancing Your Career, Mindfulness Tools for Uncertain Times. So we're going to be conducting webinars every Thursday from noon until 1 p.m. throughout the summer. So please be on the lookout, for our social blasts and our emails. And we definitely look forward to any feedback that you have. It's definitely appreciated. And we definitely received some positive feedback in the comments, and we truly appreciate you for tuning in and listening up. Great. Thank you, everyone. We truly appreciate you being here. Special thanks to my colleague, the Senior Director of Alumni Relations, Mrs. Gaylin E. Gatewood-Joshua, Dr. Rose for her stellar service, and to our panelists for a wonderful, phenomenal job today. We cannot thank you guys enough for the motivation that you have provided us with. I mean, I think I just wrote a book over here. I received so much positive information. So thank you so much. Thank you all again to our attendees for coming out. This panel, this webinar could not have been possible without you guys. And we are truly grateful for you all for tuning in. And we hope to see you all again next Thursday from noon until 1 p.m. Thanks again for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you again. You all have a great rest of your day and have an awesome weekend. Bye.